Thank you. Right.
Are you suggesting that someone's trying to make a real-life sequel?
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
2 in the box!
Ready to go.
We be fast and
They be slow.
wow!
A second Super Saiyan? Second in order, perhaps, but by no means in stature. Your fight is with me now.
I'll have my revenge, and Deathstalker too.
Man, I can't fucking believe this. Another basement, another elevator. How can the same shit happen to the same guy twice?
Oh, please. By definition alone, they're inferior films.
Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Inside the Sequel, the podcast where we talk about sequel movies that don't get enough love or attention today. I'm your host, as always, Chris. And today we're talking about a movie that I don't know if it's underappreciated because it's been getting very positive reception as the release has already came and gone, and you can watch it on Paramount Plus now. But today we're talking about I would say the hit sequel to Sonic. We're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
There were two orders of heroes who've been fighting each other for centuries.
Like Vin Diesel and The Rock.
I will destroy this planet.
Oh, great. The Winter Soldier.
so nice when diabolical evil lives up to the hype.
Oh, I think we lost him. Nope, he's not lost. He's very not lost.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This film is not yet rated.
So I feel all over the place because it's like, this movie's not underrated. I think everybody likes the first Sonic movie, and then Sonic 2 happened, and I was like, yeah, I raced my ass to the theater for it. But today I have two great guests that regardless of the movie, I was going to want to have them on. But I figured, let's just have some jokes and have a good time talking about this movie. I have Doug McCambridge from Good Times, Great Movies. Yes. Doug, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for having me back. I had a feeling I'd never be on your show again because I do feel responsible for, I'm going to say, the lengthy hiatus you took after I forced us to watch The Howling 2 and then sort of derailed your entire show by going, I didn't know that this movie existed before I watched it. Like, I destroyed the premise of your show in an episode. It may have been the worst thing I've ever done, and I apologize.
Still recovering. And then we have one of my favorite guests to have on podcasting. She's the host of the Schlock and All podcast. We have Lindsay Wilkins. Lindsay, how are you? Thank you for being back on.
Oh, no, thanks for having me back. I'm very excited. Like, when you sort of said, inside the sequel, I was like, yes, what are we talking about? Sonic 2. Sure, why not?
She's like, we've talked about adult films, not those, Doug, but the adult films that are like Lincoln and Shin Godzilla, like these, these thought-provoking films. And I'm like, hey, how about Sonic 2 with Doug McCambridge? We did, Caddyshack 2, The Howling 2. Let's talk about, a hedgehog.
Brilliant episodes. Brilliant episodes. I particularly love the Caddyshack 2 of just you both going, why are we watching this again?
All right. So listen, maybe that's what you heard. But what I said is that's an amazing movie that everybody should see. And I will defend it forever. It's one of the greatest movies ever made, one of the greatest sequels ever made. And that's not a joke.
you do love it, but you were very apologetic of like,
oh no, I feel bad if anybody actually watches it. I enjoy it, but nobody should watch it. You're right about that.
I actually have not. I have not seen it, so I need to actually get organized and actually see Caddyshack 2.
Get organized and watch.
Because I definitely had higher priorities when it came to The Howling 2, and still have that movie burnt in my brain.
Okay. My favorite part of The Howling 2 was not realizing until actually watching it that Christopher Lee was in the movie, and I was like, oh, it's got to be one of those movies.
My favorite part was the podcast devolving into the two of us just holding up Blu-rays that we own and talking about them for
just flexing.
Probably half the episode. Yes.
Yeah. In the early days of podcasting, for those tuning in for the first time, I would have the actual movies in hand. That's how I chose my episodes.
Nice. No, that's good.
It's like, what do we talk about? Well, let's see what's on the show. But yeah, I'm excited for this one because It's funny. I thought it'd be fun to kind of talk because Doug, obviously your show's centered around the 80s. And then Lindsay, you're very in tune with movies from the 90s as well.
Yes.
And I kind of love both of those. I'm, the youngest of the three of us. And I love both the things you talk about, the things of like genres you like. So I thought maybe coming across with all the age groups and uniting in Sonic 2 would be kind of a fun thing to do. And I don't know.
Didn't know why I was here. I didn't want to be insulting when you were texting me or through Twitter, but when you were like, "Oh yeah, do you want to just talk about Sonic 2?" My first response was just going to be why, but I decided not to respond that way and just be on board because I was thinking, all right, well, it's clearly going to be you and then someone else who must be really into Sonic. And I guess I'll just sit and listen to you talk. And now just to hear Lindsay, just give her very brief thoughts. It's even more puzzling why we're doing this.
I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, I just thought that Chris was like, who were the two people who were around when Sonic first came around? Oh, Lindsay and Doug.
That's it. Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. I did in my 6-month hiatus, I've been like, instead of like being like in the know of like trends and like pushing that agenda on my podcast and spreading disinformation as like I always do, I was like, I moved into like internet lurking and I was like, well, let's see who's posting podcasts on Spotify that I know. Let's go on Letterboxd and see what everyone's been watching months ago. And I was like, okay, Lindsay, she watched Sonic. Oh, I just watched Sonic. Getting ready for Sonic 2. And I was like, let's see. Doug recently, I think, watched Sonic.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, well, I don't see anybody right now who's seen Sonic that I want to talk to. So for anybody else who's like watched Sonic and been waiting for like somebody to call up from me for Sonic 2, I'm sorry, but they came first.
No. Honestly, that makes so much more sense now because when you asked me about Sonic 2, I think my response was, you know what's really weird? I just watched Sonic 1 a couple days ago. And I just thought we were in some sort of ESP going or something like that. Little do I think about, at 2 a.m. when I'm logging things in Letterboxd that anybody's actually going to look at that.
Like 5 minutes later, I'm just like, oh, what did he just post? I actually have notifications on for both of you two on Letterboxd. Whenever you review something, I'm like on it. I don't like them. I don't comment. I want to be incognito, but I'm
That's
there.
fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
Just for those who wonder how the process works on the show. But another thing is, because it's the 80s, like Doug, with your podcast and with Lindsay, with your knowledge of film. I mean, this movie does have like a pretty like stars. I mean, Jim Carrey is one of the leads in this movie, and he transcends both of those decades we talked about. And then growing up, seeing Jim Carrey in his films too. That's another talking point that I was like, oh, I think that'd be kind of fun to do. But yeah, and the other thing is like with Sonic 2, I like the movie genuinely. I like the first one. I don't know, just like in the 6-month period, I've just kind of like gone back into deciding like what I like and stuff. I've honestly been watching a lot of kids movies, like ones I grew up watching or ones I missed. And I missed Sonic, and I was like, I'll give it a chance. Let's see.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then it's like Sonic 2's on the horizon. I'm like, I love that. Let's go see it. And then it's same thing with Kung Fu Panda, rewatch the How to Train Your Dragon movies, Hotel Transylvania, like these like kids movies that have oddly direct comedy for adults too. Like there's one like 80s or 90s actor who's a lot older now doing these kids things and doing tongue-in-cheek stuff like Adam Sandler, Jack Black. Now you get, Jim Carrey in this stuff. I don't know. I really like it. I think it's a good recipe for like digestible family fun movies.
Yeah. And it's something this is nothing new what they're doing in this movie. They've been doing it, like you said, for a very, very long time, which is you have to put in some things for the parents that are dragged to these things by their kids. Like first of all, Sonic 2 hours long. I'm sorry, that feels like a hate crime.
2 hours and 6 minutes.
Yeah.
With the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the first Sonic. I don't want to give away my thoughts on Sonic 2, but I really did enjoy the first one. I was like, oh, this is light and this is fun. And it felt like a movie. And when I saw the runtime on Sonic 2, I was like, I don't even know if you tacked on an extra half hour to the first one, I don't know that I could tolerate it. This was pretty rough, I gotta tell you. I mean, I have nostalgia for certain things when I was younger. And like you said, I am an old man. I had Sega Genesis. I had the original Sonic. I think I had Sonic 2. But I got to tell you, I hadn't thought about Sonic in 30 years until somebody said they're making a Sonic movie. And I was like, well, that's got to be a mistake. There's no way why would anyone want that? Like, so I am so far removed from this as any bit of nostalgia. But my youngest daughter, she's 7. She loves Sonic. And just like, I guess it's just from these movies, because I don't know where else she's consuming this entertainment, but she knows him. She draws him. She loves him. She absolutely loved the first movie, fell asleep during the second one, but then finished it the next day. So yeah, I do have that type of nostalgia for certain films that were around when I was younger and certain IP that I am honestly like weirdly attached to. This isn't one of them.
Good. Well, I'm glad to have you on then, Doug.
Yeah. Should I just leave? Like, I can
No, you're good. What about you, Lindsay? Because you were the one I was very curious. Because when I saw you watch Sonic, I was like, what like attachment does Lindsay have to Sonic? And I need to know about that.
Well, not probably as that much. It was weirdly because I was never allowed to have a Sega because my parents rightly knew that I would get bored of it in 2 seconds and they weren't going to spend that kind of money. But so whoever had a Sega, I would be always wanting to sleep over at the house so I could play Sonic. It was like I was that annoying friend who was like, oh, we should have a sleepover. I don't want you to come over, but you have a Sega. And honestly, when I saw the first movie, it was because I was waiting to watch another movie and was there early and went, you know what? Sonic's playing. Let's watch it. And I was kind of generally surprised by it because I was not, when I get into Sonic 2, this Sonic 2 was the movie I thought Sonic 1 was going to be. And Sonic 1 was had a little bit more heart to it. And I enjoy Ben Schwartz a lot. Every time he shows up in something, and he does something in the second one, which he does a Ralphio from Parks and Rec, the worst. And I just went, yes, that is what I want from you, Ben Schwartz. Do more of that. But yeah, I was generally surprised by the first one. It had a lot of heart. I liked James Marsden's, really loved his performance. I loved the chemistry he has with Tika Sumpter, who plays his wife. It was all very sort of heartfelt and earnest. And did everything that you didn't expect from them making a Sonic movie. And then when we get into Sonic 2, I was like, oh, this is what I thought Sonic was actually going to be. It was much more lasers. It was much more like the Green Emerald magic. It was very Endgame, which seemed even, I don't know, maybe it's because of the pandemic. Maybe it just found dated because I'm like, really, we're going back to Endgame, which was all of 3 years ago.
It's like every sequel has to be that in some way.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know, maybe because Marvel's doesn't know what it wants to do now. So it's just like throwing weird things at the wall. But yeah, I was like, going, oh, we're doing this. Okay. But no, there's actually quite a bit of it I did actually generally like. I'm probably the only person who loves that whole wedding stuff. I got into that. My partner who loves Sonic way more than I do was watching this going, why are we still at the wedding? Like, I love it.
You know, I think it's funny that you talk about Endgame, because like one of my talking points with Sonic 2 is like it takes place right after the first, and it's like it's an immediate like homage to superhero movies. Like he's calling himself like the Blue Avenger or something like that. And he's like being like a Darkwing Duck mixed in with like an MCU like superhero. And it's so true. It's like any sort of like movie that has like a non-human element, like a superpower, the character wants to be like a hero of sorts. And I kind of like that. And I think that's a testament to like where we're at with films. And it's crazy because, you know, you two talk about older movies that were kind of like more of like, I feel like kind of like that blueprint to like how movies are now, where it's like borrowing things from the 80s and 90s and kind of bringing it back in style again. We're seeing that a lot with movies. And I think Sonic 2 is kind of like that in some way, where it's like doing the things it did in the 80s and the 90s and like making it fresh for 2022 audiences in some way. I really like that part. I think I totally agree that the movie is way too long. And I totally agree with Lindsay. I thought the first movie had way more heart than I thought it was going to be. But I mean, per sequel, you know, like the first movie does well. The second one has to go bigger and larger. And I'm kind of a sucker for it. But also I'm like, I know what they're doing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I really thought I liked the character of Sonic in the first movie. He was very cute and also very sweet. And then when the second one started, he just seems like a quippy douchebag. And I was like, oh, this is not what I like. This is not what I want from my lead character. And like you said, Lindsay, strangely enough, that's kind of what I thought I was going to get in the first movie. Like I was very surprised how sweet and how genuine all the performances were in the first movie. And I don't even want to pit the two against each other. I feel like I just gravitated more toward the second one. It felt like it felt more like a movie that was made for the intended audience being children or older people that had some sort of connection to this character, where in the second one, I just feel like we're doing too much. We're doing way too much. And I get it. Yes, you have to introduce new characters. You have to bring in Tails. You have to bring in Knuckles. I guess, like, what else are you going to do? But with all these different characters and all these different locales, like you said, there's a wedding happening in the middle of this movie for, I don't want to say seemingly no reason. I did appreciate the fact that they didn't do what those Alvin and the Chipmunk sequels do, which is basically get, what's his name? I can't think of the guy's name. The guy who played Dave.
Oh, from My Name is Earl.
Yeah. Jason something, whatever. But those.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, those movies like get him out of the way. Like that's what I thought they were doing in this movie with that wedding. Like I thought it was like, oh, you know what? We can't afford to pay you what you're now demanding for this sequel. So here's your 5 minutes of screen time. Oh, you have a destination wedding. We'll see you. Like I enjoyed the fact that those characters came back and played a part. But again, do you lose the first bit? Do you lose the last bit? Do you lose the soggy middle? I don't know what it is to tighten this thing up. Idris Elba, I thought it was fantastic. I thought he did an amazing job.
Oh, he was. Yeah.
The voice work of he and I don't know who played Tails, but that sounded like a
Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who actually voices Tails in the video game still.
I was gonna say that character seemed like a cartoon character or a video game character, and I really enjoyed that because I hate it in animated movies when they get famous people for some reason to voice these characters. Like I think it's another thing so you can nudge your friend and be like, do you know that's the guy from the West Wing? Like kids don't give a shit about that at all. Like I don't know why they're spending money on this, and also these people aren't doing performances, and I thought that Idris Elba was doing a character and he was doing a voice. I really dug what he was doing in this.
I just like how Sonic and Sonic 2 is just really for the culture. Like he's hitting the floss stance. He's talking about hot dogs. Talk about how guac is so funny to say. I totally agree. Guac is a weird word. So my big thing is, especially when we talk about like video game movies adaptations, like, are you two fans of those at all? Like, I'm curious. Like, I know you grew up like during the height of like movies now that are based on video games came out in the 80s and 90s. Like, Lindsay, like, do any of them like stick out for you? Where like, I remember when this was popular when I was like, 10 years ago, and now it's a movie. Who would have thought? Is there anything like that?
More 20 years ago. Aging myself. No, I think the two that stand out are Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Which I think one is aged better than the other, even though I still enjoy Street Fighter way more than I should. But it was like they're making a game out of Mortal Kombat. They're making Street Fighter was more surprising because I think actually Mortal Kombat tried to have a plot. Street Fighter, just two guys punching each other or doing whatever. Yeah, that was kind of, because you're right. The 90s were like the golden, horrible time of failed things like this, like Super Mario Brothers. I remember going to see that in the theater and going, what the hell was that? Now I haven't seen it in a while. It's insane, but I just remember as a kid going, I understand none of this. I don't think I should have been allowed to see this movie. What is happening? So it was a really magical, beautiful time of these guys people trying to make movies out of almost plotless video games, or if there was a plot, they'd completely ignore it and then go do something else. Which is why I think maybe Mortal Kombat is weirdly the one that's aged, the 95 is aged best out of all of them, because they kind of at least followed the Mortal Kombat.
You just show up to a fighting tournament and you fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say you couldn't have done that poorly, because they didn't do it great, but there's no plot and there's nothing. You're not adding anything to this. Street Fighter is a crazy movie, because there's different nations and giant conflicts with armies, and I'm like, no, it's just a fighting game. It's just like Mortal Kombat, so it makes no sense. And I can really appreciate what they did with Sonic here, because I would not have known how to approach that. If someone came to me and said, how would you make a Sonic video game? I don't think I'd be able to. Like, I don't think I would have any sort of pitch, no narrative that makes any sense, because the game, at least, the originals, like, I don't know what they did. I don't know what the games are like now. They're very flimsy, and you just run around and collect rings. Like, that's kind of all you do.
That's it.
So it's amazing that they were able to sort of stitch together a coherent plot and something that was interesting and something that still was able to use the characters effectively.
It's weird. Which I can't remember which one it was from Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Which one has Jean-Claude Van Damme in it?
That's Street Fighter.
Street Fighter?
Street Fighter.
Okay. Is it me, or is Twitter, maybe it's always been and I'm just out noticing, but it seems recently all of Twitter is thirsting over Jean-Claude Van Damme in his movies.
Oh,
it's
been that way for a while. Like, it's been that way since before there was Twitter. Like, if you were a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan 20 years ago, you were in the select group. And if you ran into someone else who knew any of his movies, who knew about his background dancing scene in Breakin', like, that's an amazing meme that I see all the time.
Yes.
But no, he's wonderful. And a lot of the stuff he did, like that, what was it, that JCVD show that he tried to make, where it was just about his life as an actor, but really he's a secret agent. It was amazing, and it got canceled after like 4 episodes.
It sounds like that Chip and Dale spinoff movie within the new movie that was coming out, Chip 007 or something like that.
Oh, see, now you're just saying words that I'm not really sure exist.
Watching
I know it's
Sonic,
a movie.
Watching Sonic 2 actually reminded me a lot of the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie. Just in the ways they were trying to update it, though. I think Sonic 2's references are all over the place. Like, one minute you have something from the 80s, the next the 90s, the next it's the it's the Winter Soldier. It's which I laughed at, I'm not gonna lie. But it's with this Chip and Dale is very purposely going, we're going to remake Roger Rabbit. And that is what we're doing. 3D Dale freaked me out a bit, because I'm like, why are you 3D? You're not meant to be 3D. Stop it. But that is a very specific, it's a little bit more contained than I think Sonic 2, just because they are literally remaking Roger Rabbit, so they are following certain beats and certain rules. And Sonic 2, it kind of feels like a free-for-all. You can kind of tell that Sonic is a child of like TikTok or Twitter, because he's just throwing so many different random references. I'm like, where are these coming from? Oh, wait, he's on social media. That's why he's posting the Jean-Claude Van Damme dancing in Breakin' thing, as long with I'm watching the new Marvel movie, and I'm like going, oh yeah, this is what kids consume. That it's not just something contained, and it's all over the place, which I think, as Doug said before, this is much more for children. And because of that, it feels like it has ADHD.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. And I will give you, every time Sonic makes some insane cultural reference or something.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. He's basically a child. When Jim Carrey's character is flossing and things like that, like I was kind of like, do not try and convince me that this character, this insane scientist that knows what flossing is, has ever done it before in his life, is making cultural references. I am, first of all, I'll just say this. I don't think this is a real hot take. I'm not a Jim Carrey fan. It's not that I dislike him. There are very few things that I like him in. I enjoyed Dumb and Dumber, and I kind of like the second Ace Ventura much more than the first one. But this is just
why do you wink at me? Did you see that? Oh no!
I saw
this is just an in living color sketch. Like, this is not a character. I don't know what he's doing. They basically just hit record and just let him do whatever he wants to do. And I found it very irritating. And I know I'm in the minority with that, but anytime he's just allowed to do whatever he wants to do, I was like, this, I can't. Can we just get back to the cartoon Blue Hedgehog? I enjoyed that way more than Jim Carrey.
That's crazy. Yes. First, real quick, Lindsay, when she talks about like a Sonic talking and being a child, it's like that's literally like all of the conversations I have with my friends. I didn't realize everything she describes, like talk about TikTok, talk about Twitter memes, and I'm like, oh God, I literally did that this past weekend. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. To us, you are a child. You talked about how old you are.
Though, to be fair, I do imagine Daniel with a pipe. I don't know why I do this. Because I realize Daniel is not he's not an old man. He is relatively young, but for some reason, every single time he talks, and I've seen him, we've podcasted many times, he has never had a pipe, which I'm disappointed by. But I always imagine him with a pipe talking about, Howling 2 or whatever, or a Hammer movie with Michael Ripper.
Just like in a smoking jacket, or how is he dressed? Yes. Is it like a Sherlock Holmes type thing in your mind?
It's funny that, Doug, that you say that about Jim Carrey, because I'm also not the biggest Jim Carrey guy. But man, I don't know what it is about him in this role with the Sonic movies, and now I guess he's technically retired now.
Yeah, I heard that. I didn't know if that was just something on the internet or real.
Yeah, I posted that and went to see if people would actually believe me on it. But I think he's actually retired now, and it's like, yeah, he's had iconic roles, but I feel like in the realm of like movies being adapted from comics and from obscure TV shows or video games now, him doing this Dr. Robotnik, Dr. Eggman character in the first one, I was like, oh boy, he's going to be the roughest part, especially based on the first initial trailer that first Sonic movie came. And then with Sonic 2, we see how he looks. He dons the actual look from the video game. I think it's one of those moments for me where it's like, I know I'm not a fan of this guy's work, but I'm a fan of his performance in this. It's kind of like, for me, it's like Bill Skarsgård's performance as Pennywise, where it's like, when I think of this actor, I think of this role first, and it might already have made him iconic. And then you think of like the other movie he does. So like It Chapter 2, I'm not a big fan of, but he's still doing the same thing. I thought that was going to be the case with Sonic 2, but I actually liked him more in Sonic 2 than in Sonic 1. I think it's because he's so dark in the first movie, and in the second one, he's a little bit more unhinged, I feel. I don't know.
Boy, wow. Okay. Yeah, we're completely opposite, because I liked him more in the first one because of, like you said, he was more dark. He was more reserved. He seemed more villainous in the first one. And I felt strangely enough, like a sense of danger when he and Sonic were fighting each other. And by the time they fought for, I'm going to say the 87th time in the second movie, I was like, you're not going to win. Like, why do you keep shooting rockets at him? You've done this so many times. Yeah, I almost called his performance in the first one restrained. That would be a huge mistake. But I did like his somewhat more subtle performance in the first one than the second.
Yeah, I like his performance in the first one because I think it was more of felt like a fully formed character in the first one, because the second one he's fully the Dr. Robotnik in the video game. So he's just and the 5 times he mentions his mustache, which I actually kind of enjoyed that. But no, he's darker. He's got purpose. It's not just to kill Sonic, which I think is what he wants to do in the second one. It's more, I'm the smartest man in the room. No one else can beat me. Wait, I've come across this hedgehog who's posing a challenge. Now I need to try and take. Yeah, there's a ramping up of Robotnik's character, and I think he's slightly more restrained in this one. I mean, I'm the slightly bigger fan of his only because I have a nostalgia for the early 90s stuff, like the first most of the first Ace Ventura, and even The Mask, which I just had that kind of, I was young, this was the comic at the time.
Right.
Let's go for it. That was the guy from In Living Color. And yeah, but in the second one, they've just gone, okay, we're not even going to have like a script. We know you just go. And it's very hit and miss. Sometimes I thought, yep, this works. And other times I'm like, why would you know that reference? You've been on a mushroom planet for 3 years. Though the line of the movie is still, I'm going to get off this shiitake planet, which I love it. Bravo.
I enjoyed that. That's great.
That is amazing. And I do love that whole thing of him hanging, just that little thing of what his life was actually like on the mushroom planet. And when he's drinking coffee, could have more mushroom. But yeah, then he'll just go with these references. I'm like going, you've been on a planet for this weird ass planet for 3 years. You don't know what that is. Stop it.
So
Lindsay,
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think, Lindsay, you pointed to something that I did want to bring up because you said his performance was hit or miss. I have to say, when he is acting opposite another human being, I think it's very good. But when he's either alone or just talking to a tennis ball on a string, like that's when he's over the top, out of control. But anytime he's interacting with another character, I mean, all eyes are on him. He's doing such an amazing job. But when he's just loose and able to dance with the camera not moving for 5 minutes on him, I found that extremely irritating.
Yeah, you're right. That's hit the nail on the head exactly.
It's weird how like movies now for kids are, they're either all animated or it's human with like some sort of like computer generated image and stuff. So like with Sonic, you kind of have that. And then you see things like, like Rescue Rangers. In the past, you've seen Alvin and the Chipmunks and stuff like that. But it's like at the same time, all these like cartoon kids movies, they will have I feel like now to be competitive at anything with CGI or another product of sorts that's animated, it's like you have to have a distinct art style, which I like. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about Sonic. It's because we talk about Rescue Rangers in hindsight now after Sonic 2 coming out. The animation looks great. With the people being in the movies, they look good too. But there's still some element of like uniqueness, like the 2D with the 3D animation, which is great. And then something like DreamWorks' Bad Guys. I don't know if you've seen that. It's kind of similar to Sonic in some way, where it has Sam Rockwell's in that as the lead in the movie. So this big like Oscar winning actor who plays serious roles, or in the early career he was goofy, but now he's the lead in a DreamWorks animated movie. The animation,
kids love Sam Rockwell.
Yeah,
they can't get enough of that guy.
They saw Galaxy Quest growing up and they're like, that I want him.
Your Bad Guys cast has a too good cast. What is going on in this movie?
Go see The Bad Guys. I actually enjoyed it too.
Okay.
Yeah, my kid liked
Mark Maron, isn't it? How did they get Mark Maron in a Bad Guys movie?
And here's the thing. It's a DreamWorks movie and it has awesome animation because it's different. It's not the traditional like 2D animation. It's not like Disney Renaissance. It's not like everything looks like Shrek, It's just like it's a cool idea. And then I watched something like Kung Fu Panda. At the time, they do like Asian art mixed in with the animation. Looks great too. Just in like, and then you watch something like Detective Pikachu, which is kind of like brought Sonic. Without Detective Pikachu, I don't feel like we got a Sonic movie, which really pushed the whole making animalistic characters look a little bit more like on-screen friendly than just making an animal that talks. And then you get things like, I think it's really because of Spider-Verse. When you think about, you know, animation and where it goes now, animation looks too good because Pixar has just killed the animation game and how to make animated CGI things look humanly as possible. You look at that Lightyear trailer, it looks like Buzz Lightyear looks better looking in that movie than I do in real life. But it's just like, I think with Sonic 2 in some ways, like how, you know, your main character is literally a hedgehog. How do you make that work? And I really applaud the Sonic movies for being able to do that. Like, I think they look really good. And then we talk about Tails and we talk about like Knuckles, who I can't wait to talk about. The on-screen accuracy from the source materials just looks really good in my opinion. Whether you, I don't know if you two agree with that or not, but I've just noticed that with kids animation, it's more or less trying to prove either this must be a training ground for animators to get to bigger projects or not. So they're really pushing it, but I'm here for it because I like great animation.
And I will say, I think CGI is, and I don't know, I hate people that just knock CGI for being CGI. I think that's stupid. And I hate people that, you know, long for days of just puppets and real blood all the time. You know, some of that stuff looks like shit. My whole podcast is about movies from the 80s, and some of those puppets and you know, actual physical stuff looks like total garbage. But what I will say is, I think with these kids movies, I think because they're going for a distinct style, the CG does look really good for the most part. I'll compare it to, I don't know, those Jurassic Park movies that are relatively new. Those things look like a video game. Like, it doesn't look real to me, but I can buy into it when I'm watching Sonic run around. You know what I mean? I think it's all about how it's being used and how it's being presented. And I really did think in both of these movies, they're doing a great job. And for the amount of time that people are interacting with these cartoons, I think I did laugh at one point. One of them hugged Sonic, and I was like, that looks kind of silly. But for the most part, I think they're doing a really, really nice job.
Yeah. And Lindsay, you know, you and I have had conversation about animation in the past. So I want to hear what you have to say about that.
No, I actually really do like the animation of Sonic. It's that right mix between really cartoonish, but they managed to get a weight to it. It's like if you watch the Paddington movies, I believe that bear exists. Like that is a fully flesh bear. And even though Sonic his eyes are they did try to do a realistic Sonic, and then he got
oh god, Rescue Rangers with the jokes on that.
Oh my god, he got pushed over to Rescue Rangers. And they tried to make him too realistic, and it didn't work. So they had to find this mix of, he still needs to look like a cartoon character. And so but he still needs to fit in this world. And I think they found the right mix. If that is ugly Sonic, I hate to think what the other prototypes were for Sonic, but it's a really hard balance to think, because he still needs to have weight, but he actually still needs to look like a cartoon character. And it's a really hard mix to do. And I think they actually really nail it. And also I think that the performances help as well. I mean, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who plays Tails, which I love the fact that they got in one of the actual voices from the video games, because I think she kind of adds that cartoon authenticity. And then you have Idris Elba playing Knuckles, and that adds the movie star performance. So it's, again, making that right mix. And I love Ben Schwartz's Sonic. I think he's that voice is perfect.
I think it's really weird. Like, the whole old Sonic or original Sonic or whatever that is, like, I find it interesting that they could mess that up, because it's like it's right there. Like, it's right there. They made cartoons, they made video games. Look at the cover of an old Sega video. It's right there. Why are you trying to do something different? Like, I understand them going, I don't know, Mario, Bob Hoskins, how can we do this? Like, that's difficult. That is a huge challenge. But just going, hey, let's take this cartoon and make it a cartoon. How did they screw that up the first time? That is mind-boggling to me.
I don't know, but one of my favorite jokes in A Chip and Dale is the whole human teeth with Sonic, is that everyone just keeps focusing in on his teeth and go, oh. And I think that's really smart about why they thought that was a good idea, but the presentation of it, because you are looking at that Sonic going, okay, they're trying to make him too human, and now I'm scared. So don't make him human. It's like when you're watching the original Ninja Turtles movies.
Oh yeah,
those are puppets, but they still look puppet enough so you're not looking at them terrified.
Yes.
Which when you watch the CGI ones, they screwed up, and now I'm looking at them and going, no, you're too human. There's something about you I need to run away from. It's a really
they're too
hard
human,
balance.
but also look like terrifying monsters at the same time. Like it's
like I want to
weird
hug
balance.
the Donatello in the 1991.
Yes,
I don't want to go anywhere near him in the other one. And you're right. I get annoyed when people I love a practical, but I do get annoyed when people bitch at CGI because I think it's a tool that can be used really effectively. And I think when you get it right, it's just when you don't get it right, it's the uncanny valley. I'm sorry, I'm going back to Chip and Dale a lot. I apologize for talking about Sonic too.
That's what I love about this podcast. Is like I can't talk about Chip and Dale on this podcast, but I need to have things to lure it in here so I can talk about things like that.
The uncanny valley jokes are done so well in Chip and Dale that I'm like, you're staring at me? No, you're staring above me. No, I'm staring at you. It's the way they understood the different styles of animation and how they've gone through history is actually really well done. And the fact that they made the villain, who I won't spoil the villain, but I thought that was, there's a lot. They really just kind of go and play with all the animated styles, whether it be a puppet, whether it be CGI, whether it be 2D. But when you go to look at Sonic, if you're not necessarily except when they try and really tactile hug the Sonic, and you're like, no, I can see that that's not quite working. But for the most part, you forget that Sonic isn't actually talking to James Marsden.
Yeah.
Like he's really going to talk looking at the tennis ball.
Yeah. And, to now animation, I'm going to keep going with it because, I love animation. I think it's just part of the reason I love movies is now, it's so competitive with animation with Pixar and Disney and everyone else playing catch up. They have to be different in some sort of style. And unlike in the 80s and the 90s with animation, well, I guess the 90s showed that this is a good recipe for success. If you want your animation movie to be good, you got to put a big name in there, or you have to have good voice acting to make people be drawn to these movies. I would say Ben Schwartz is a pretty big voice actor or a big personality as a comedian. And then you get Idris Elba in this movie too, and Jim Carrey. You're gonna get people to sit and check this movie out. But the way how competitive it is with animation, it feels reminiscent of Disney Ralph Bashkin-esque. You have these two kind of production companies doing their own type of animation and kind of seeing which audiences are going to go see their stuff. And then you get Bloom, who left Disney to do An American Tail. You get that kind of thing. You get DreamWorks later on in the 90s. It's I kind of like seeing all these different production studios. Eventually they'll get bought out, but putting out their own staple of sorts. And Sony, who's putting out things like Venom and Morbius, they still have time. Or I guess Paramount, it's not Sony, but I guess I just wanted to bash about Morbius for a second.
It flopped twice.
What? God.
Because it's a meme of a movie and everyone was just making fun of it, they decided, people want to see Morbius for the second time, and so they put it back in theaters, and it did not do well.
Morbius is just I went to go see Morbius and I'm like, oh man, what am I doing with my life? you guys are complaining about Sonic 2 runtime, Morbius runtime. I'm like, oh my God, what is Jared Leto going to be doing? And Matt Smith. Oh goodness. But let's move on to because Sonic, he thinks he's a superhero, and then he's doing more damage than good because he's a teenager. It feels like in this movie. He feels like he's aged at least since it's been a few days since the first movie ended, I think is what they said. And he's left alone because his friend Tom and his wife are going to Hawaii for a destination wedding for her sister. And I forget the actress's name. Is it Tiki or is it Kiki?
Tika Sumpter, I think. Yeah.
And the first movie, her sister was hilarious, who didn't like, James Marsden, which was funny.
Really great.
And then,
really great. Yeah.
And then in this one, the human element, they go to Hawaii for destination wedding. You get the actor from, I think, Hawaii Five-O's in it, and she's getting married to him. It's like, when did this happen? I'm down for whatever's going on. And it's basically Doug, you said earlier, James Marsden's not going to be in this movie much, but we'll get a cool montage of Sonic doing a bunch of stuff when a kid gets left alone. Very Home Alone, I feel like. and he does everything you can think of all in an evening and then misses Tom. I love that because like they keep the relationship stuff there going.
Right. Yes. I wish the little girl was in it more. I loved what she did in the first one. I mean, just giving him the shoes was so cute. And when that happened, my daughter was like, yeah, now he has red shoes. I'm like, all right, I didn't notice that, but okay, that's fine. I wish there was more for her to do, or more interaction between she and Sonic. Like there was some sort of relationship made in that first film that we could explore a little bit more. Yeah, I gotta tell you, Lindsay, you like the wedding stuff for some reason, but when I was watching,
I understand for some reason.
No, it was one of those things where I'm just watching it, going, "This is not the movie I signed up for." Like I don't know what this silly wedding and this weird tension between this woman's future husband and Marston has anything to do with anything. I thought it was super crazy, and it just felt like a completely different movie to me.
That's kind of why I liked it. There was no like bursting green lasers or anything like that. It was just this weird ass wedding. I'm like, something feels weird about this wedding. Oh wait, it's a sham. Okay. Okay. This is and then it goes into this whole weird different direction where I'm just like, what the hell is happening? And it just keeps going. I mean, yes, if you're gonna cut down this movie, you cut out the wedding stuff because you do not need it. It is bloated, it is dopey. And I know my partner's like, why the hell are we still in Hawaii? I'm like, I don't know, but it's weird and I am getting weirdly invested. But I do realize that it's not I do realize that it's kind of a weird distraction from the movie as a whole when you kind of want to go back to Knuckles and Tails and Sonic's kind of relationship and the weird Romanian dances.
Oh God, I you know what? I blocked parts of this movie out, and oh no, it's all.
He does this every podcast. He blocks some parts of the movie I really wanted to talk about.
That dance sequence was so early in this movie, and I was like, I've fucking checked out. Like I'm done. I'm so done.
Okay, but can we talk about the MCU reveal of Idris Elba's Knuckles though, when he shows up at Sonic's house with Dr. Robotnik? I was like, I forgot Idris Elba was in this movie, and it's like he's the perfect casting choice for this gruff Red Sonic character. I love it.
It's great. I love how he's just a big, dumb, lumbering idiot too. Like I love the fact that he doesn't get jokes and everything is too serious, but he's also like, you know, what's that Fantastic Four? The Thing, right? The Thing or Thing, something like that. Like that's who he reminded me of. Just a big dumb idiot who can break stuff, and I really enjoyed the character.
No, I really enjoyed the whole handshake running gag. Every time he shakes the hand, he like crushes the hand. And he's like, "You've got to be kidding me with this hand." Yeah, it's great.
I just love because like we talked about the art style, the animation style, because he's red and Sonic's blue, and Sonic is constantly just turning into that lightning blue that we saw at the end of the first movie. He does that so much more often in this one. And then obviously Knuckles can do that, and he's just trying to kill Sonic because of the prologue to the first movie is some sort of backstory for him, which I think is great. But then you get Tails, and I think my partner Charlie said the same thing. I think Tails is kind of like the sweet, lovable part that like was missing. I think some parts of the first movie, they bring that full front with Tails in the second, and I totally agree. I think Miles Prowler, which I think is the best maybe video game character name ever for a character. I think he's perfect. He's cute, or it's cute. I don't know if it's a he or she, but I'm here for it. And I think it's super funny that it's video game accurate. We talk about video game adaptations in movies. Like he does the helicopter tail thing. He has like the technology. He knows about Sonic, and he's like his sidekick right away. It's like, I'm all about that.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lindsay.
No, I was just going to say, I've always liked Tails because I was even a big fan of one of the animated shows, the really dark one where Robotnik was like this dictator and was like just out to kill Sonic. And he was like a freedom fighter. It was a very weird show, but Tails was awesome in that because I think Tails was the gadget guy as well as Sonic's sidekick. But he was the one, I think it's a he. Tails was the one who was just creating things. And he does, and that's very much the Tails in this movie. So I did enjoy that. I'm like, oh, this is the Tails I know.
Yeah, I just and poking realistic holes in a movie made for kids is so dumb in a video game movie. But that's, I enjoyed Tails and I enjoyed Knuckles, but strangely enough, they did feel kind of unnecessary at times. It did feel like they were just here for padding or just here to try and do something different. There were so many times in this movie where I was like, wait, Sonic, why don't you just pick up Tails and run like really fast? Like you'd be able to get anywhere you want to go. You'd be able to get away. And near the end of this movie, when Sonic's like, well, with your strength and your intelligence and my speed, we can beat him. And I was thinking, you've been beating him alone. Like you don't really need this.
I like how the ending is kind of like a Power Rangers episode where it's like the bad guy grows gigantic and like they have to come together for like their Megazord. I think is, if I remember correctly, my childhood from the 90s, it kind of felt like that. I think maybe Sonic 2 is just like a nostalgic trip for me and maybe for a lot of people. And that's why it's done so well so far that they're already going to do a third one, which, God, I can't wait for. But here's the thing. So, Doug, you talk about Knuckles, Idris Elba playing it like for jokes and him being dumbed down and not understanding anything. I think that was like the right amount of like, I guess, I don't know how do you describe it. Like he's so naive. It's funny, to like the most common things. That's like what was needed. I feel like in the first movie, because James Marsden's like the dad and he's again, the dad in this movie. And he's explaining things to Sonic who, only knows things from internet culture. And then you get someone who literally has no concept of what's going on. I think it's like the perfect thing.
Oh, I think it is too, because I really like that because it just reminds you that, oh yeah, he's just an alien. Like he's not from this planet. He shouldn't know anything. But Sonic came in, like you said, internet culture. He knows just enough. Doesn't quite know how to interact with people or anything like that, but has been around and understands things. Tails is the one that I'm a little bit confused about. And maybe I just kind of zoned out when Tails was talking about where he or she has been. But I was like, where? You just showed up. Where have you been? Have you been watching this whole thing? You seem to know everything that's happening, but where was Tails? I'm not asking you guys to.
It's because Tails did what I do on the internet. He's been watching Sonic from afar. He's been paying attention to what he's been doing, and then he's like, I gotta study up, and then I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna travel through space and time.
Lurking. Like that whole line of like, oh my God, you've been watching me in the shower. Oh wait, that's a trick question. You prefer bubble baths. I'm like going. Yeah. That's not interesting.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Lindsay gets it. The jokes, they're like, they just hit. Here's the thing, Lindsay, what were your thoughts when they're trying to get this Chaos Emerald and then they go to Siberia in Russia and they go on a dance off to avoid getting beat up. The dance number, I was kind of there for. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I enjoyed the Russians doing the Russian things because they were doing that amazing Russian dancing where they don't just care about gravity. And then I do like it when they start dancing and they're terrible at it. Again, a great joke in Chip and Dale when they try to rap and Dale's just rapping about whales because he can't think of anything else to rhyme with Dale, which again is funny. But then of course they start, what song do they play? Because Sonic loves early 90s hip hop, but he chooses a modern song for this one, I think.
I don't know. Some of the needle drops in this were really not great.
It was like when I was watching Taking of Beverly Hills, and the needle drops in that movie are insane. I'm like, really? You playing Janet Jackson during a car chase? Okay, I'm here for it. But yeah, it was good. It was the first movie he have Sonic dancing in that one? Didn't he?
He
have
hits the floss at one point. Which was awesome. It's maybe one of the most iconic movie moments I've ever seen in my life. You get a
We were just
CGI.
excited on him doing it.
What words did you just say? Most iconic movie moments in your life?
Yeah, there's Charlton Heston saying "You did it," and then he sees the monkey statue, and then you see a CGI Sonic doing the floss in Sonic 1. Like,
no, that makes sense. A distant third is Rosebud. Citizen Kane. That's great.
Well, yeah, and then you got the Jean-Claude Van Damme punching a snake seed, probably is an honorable mention.
You're
I'm
right.
only saying that for,
yeah.
I gotta say that just so Michael Scott and Matt Bledsoe like me. So I have to just mention Jean-Claude Van Damme in that part. Sorry. Yeah, the dance number I kind of like because it was like at this point, it's like I already know this movie's just going only for jokes now. Like it's like all bets are off. Anything that's gonna be for the kids is gonna be there, which is fine. But I think maybe it's just because like I have such an affinity for like the video games. I mean, the first movie, the video game came out in 1992, and this movie comes out in 2022. So you know, like it's an anniversary of sorts. And in the second movie, Tails is in it, and obviously Tails was first introduced in the second video game. But the locations, like we talked about, this movie's bouncing the hell around. Like you're in Hawaii,
It really is.
You're on the mountain area, you're back in Green Hill Zone, and then you're like in an underwater temple, and you get elements of Sonic being afraid of the water again, which are all things from the video game. When we talk about accuracy, and I mostly say this as an offhand complaint to the newest Resident Evil movie that came out, where I was just like, these things just do not match up. I think Sonic at some way, like how do you transition a video game about a platform character running so fast you can see it on screen, but you see the background, you see the cool music. This movie at least gives you those kind of locations and like gives you that sort of change of terrain of sorts that's homage to the games that I was like, oh, that's really creative. I never would have thought to even do that in a movie about a video game character of that sort.
They use the rings well. The fact that I don't know if they rings, would ever the rings that you can go to different places, and the fact that they've James Marsden and TK have just decided that we can use these rings just to travel. We don't have to go on a plane. Is I love that that touch. But the fact that they use, I love how I don't know if that was mythology from the later games, because I know he's just collecting them in the ones I used to play. That they've kind of used them as these kind of travel to deportation devices, and it actually really works for the movie that they're making. I think that's a clever touch, and the fact that they just spread it out so they can just go anywhere, I think is really, really smart. It's a really nice touch to the movie.
And I think you had, I don't want to say had to do it, but I feel like they felt that they had to do that. I think another thing I appreciate about the first movie is it was very small and it was very contained. And I mean, I know he starts out on a different planet, so maybe it's not that small, but everything takes place in a small town, and everything takes place with a smaller group of characters. And that is not what I would have expected from a crazy video game movie about a space alien hedgehog. And I really like that. So just in the second one, to amp that up a little bit and to say, well, we can't have it set in this town again. And at the end of the, was it Seattle he was supposed to become a cop at or something?
Yeah, he was supposed to go to
San Francisco in the
San
first
Francisco.
one.
That's right. Yeah. And because he didn't take that, I was like, well, okay, it's not going to be in San Francisco, but yeah, you're all over the place. The rings, as you said, Lindsay, I don't think that was ever a thing in any of the games. I could be wrong. But hey, do something more than just make them rings. Go for it.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. Also, hey, that owl, was that Sonic's mom or dad or what
adopted mom of some sort?
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
my
it was
kept referring to it as his mother, and I was like, well, he's not even calling that thing mom. So I don't know if you're right.
Yeah, I think it was just like an adopted mother plot of sorts. And then the kid, I love Idris Elba's Knuckles character, where like he's not bad because he's bad. He's got some sort of justification, which shows some sort of like a safe explanation to like vendettas for kids and like causes for conflict. He doesn't inherently hate Sonic. He even's like conflicted. He's like, I don't personally know you, but I know what someone who's associated with you has done and doesn't know how to handle. Like, Knuckles would literally go to the shiitake mushroom planet and help this mustache bald scientist kill Sonic, then just go to therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's got a code of honor though. And that's the main thing is, hey, you promised me this and you gave me your word, and why are you being mean to that guy? He seems like he's your buddy. Like I did enjoy it. Like I knew Knuckles was gonna turn. Like nothing in this movie really surprised me, except the fact that there was a lengthy wedding sequence. Nothing in this movie was very surprising. But even though I saw it coming a mile away, I did appreciate them teaming up in the end. I did appreciate these adorable characters not being bad guys. Like I kind of like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, no. Am I surprised that Knuckles and Sonic became friends? No, but I do like Knuckles' code of honor. He's very Drax from the Galaxy.
Ooh, nice pull. Mm-hmm.
A metaphor wouldn't fly over his head because his reflexes are too good. But at the same time, he does have that very strong code of honor. So as soon as he sees Robotnik not breaking that code, he's like, oh, hang on, I'm trusting the wrong guy here. Yes, I thought we were in line, but you want something else and you're just being a dick to everyone. So you don't have a code. And some of that heartfelt stuff that I did really like from the first one is when they're on the beach and Sonic's finally going to Knuckles, hey, why are you trying to beat me up all this? Like, calm down.
Yep.
And Knuckles is like, well, I don't hate you. I just this. And so when they kind of become friends, I did really like that moment because I'm like, oh, two characters just having a moment on a beach and it's sweet.
Yeah. After like seeing this movie, I'm like, I wonder what Chris Pratt can do with the new Super Mario movie that's announced that's coming out. Like, how is he going to top Sonic at this point for me?
I don't. That movie still. I don't quite understand what they're doing. Is it 100% animated?
I think they're going to just do
like this.
I think they're just going to do an 80s, 90s like multiverse. So you're going to get Sonic, Mario, apparently maybe Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat all tie in, and you're going to get this movie mashup, and you two are going to have a nostalgic trip the entire time.
If that's true, I'm not watching that. you can't make me.
Let's see. I mean,
I'll wait for Super Mario 2 and then I'll come on to talk.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but is Super Mario technically now a sequel? It's
oh no. Why do you think I've been waiting for
it's a reboot.
Oh, reboot.
If anything.
Yeah, what's funny? It's like I really like my first month back into podcasting. I really just wanted to like get people like realizing what I've been watching. I was like, Sonic 2 is what I've been watching, bozos. So like get used to it. But that's really what it was. I mean, when it comes to kid movies, like, do you think like we need to have like messages of sorts? Because like the message in Sonic 2 is just like, if you are a good person, you're going to have good friends. Like people will recognize you're a good person, want to be your friend. You won't be lonely, In the first movie, it's a sense of belonging in a place you're not used to. I mean,
or finding family. I think, the second one seems to have the message more than the first one. The first one is literally an orphan finding his family, which again is not a new story. This has been done over and over again, but it's a nice story. And this one, it is literally Sonic, don't be a dick. Then you'll find good friends. And that seems to have the message. I'm not opposed to things having messages or not messages. Most kids' movies tend to have a lesson.
Like Shrek, I mean, it's okay that she likes Shrek because she's also a hideous monster. Like, what a dumb, oh my God, that Shrek movie, I watched it again recently.
I have not seen it in years.
Trash.
Lindsay,
that is horrible.
No.
We
stand Shrek on this
message,
podcast.
like I cannot. If I was still attractive we couldn't be together, you hideous monster. But the fact that I am also a hideous monster means that we belong together. I can't stand that movie, and this is not a Shrek podcast, so don't have me on for Shrek 2 or, I don't know, Shrek or Ever After, let's say.
How many Shreks are there?
There's 6.
Oh my god.
No.
Wait, no, there's 5. No, there's 4.
No, there's also are they doing another Puss in Boots movie? Or am I
Oh, yeah, that is. Don't mention it too loud on this podcast. I don't want to watch them. But I love how Doug's just like he didn't say he watched it with his kids. He said he watched Shrek the other day. So like Doug watches kids movies on his time off. There's something nice. There's something nice about watching a kids movie as an adult. I don't know what it is. Like Lindsay, do you do that sometimes? Like, do you ever just tune in and just watch All Dogs Go to Heaven, which with just to hear Burt Reynolds' voice on there? Like, I don't know.
Oh, I recently watched again the time A Land Before Time.
Oh,
and that was a nostalgia thing because I loved early Don Bluth as a kid. You know, Fievel and that was all very much my jam. The fact that there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a Triceratops, called Sarah. I don't know why, but that is very thing I love. No, I mean I was really excited for Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers because I was that perfect age for when that cartoon was there. I was all for Disney. Disney cartoons after school, afternoon school things. You know, give me Tailspin, give me Darkwing Duck, give me DuckTales, give me Rescue Rangers. So that movie, I'm just like, well, this is hitting all my buttons, and it's a remake of Roger Rabbit. Okay, even if this movie isn't good, I'm kind of gonna like it. So yeah, I think it's more of a nostalgia thing for me. I don't know if I could watch a new, like I can't do what is the Secret Lives of Pets? I tried. I'm like, no. I think I do watch it, but it needs to be that older nostalgia thing, which Sonic has as well. But yeah, no, I'll totally watch a family movie.
Yeah, Illumination, I think, is the one animation studio that kind of falls behind for me. And I think it's just because they do the Minions movies.
Okay. Yeah.
No to Minions.
Yeah, which are making a new one. They're doing a requel or something of that sort, like a prequel sequel, which I've not seen any of those because the animation alone, if the animation looks questionable and not anything sort of like original or interesting enough to see, I'm not going to go see it. But that's why I think now, like I've been seeing so many kids movies in theaters and stuff. It's because like they look interesting, or they have a voice actor that's like, you know, a pleasant surprise.
Or like you said, when I was a kid, kids movies were 100% geared toward kids. Now again, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe if I go back and I look at something, you know, a cartoon made in 1983 or something, I would see that, oh, there's some adult humor in here. I don't really think that was the case with that stuff. But there's enough happening now with these newer kids movies to, even if it's just assaults your senses and you're just appreciating everything that's happening on screen and you don't really care about the characters, it's still enough to get me through stuff. I mean, I don't necessarily go out of my way to watch kids movies, but you know, I have kids, so that's where I'm seeing most of this stuff. And most of it is, you know, the worst thing I could say is that something's tolerable. You know, if I sit there and I actually enjoy it, that's a bonus. But I haven't really watched a whole lot of kids stuff where I sit there through the whole thing and just go, this is terrible. I don't want to keep watching it. It's usually interesting enough, and they're dropping in enough bits for older people, or if it's something like a Sonic or Rescue Rangers, which I didn't see, but I'm assuming really calls back to those moments that might be familiar with, even if you haven't seen it in 20, 30 years. Like even when Sonic's underwater and he has that air bubble and he breathes from it, I was like, oh yeah, you do that in the video game. When you go underwater, you have to grab onto the air bubbles and everything. And I found that very clever. And I was like, oh, it's really nice that they forced that in there, but in such a subtle way where I was like, I did not see that coming. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, those touches were never too blatant or didn't feel like that way. I mean, you could go, oh yeah, that's what he does in the video game, but it was never like those big moments was like, we're going to make you realize this is from the video game. It was just, oh, this is what he does. I did like that stuff. Yeah.
There were plenty of things where he would be literally winking at the camera while he did
yes.
that, and I appreciate that they didn't do that a whole lot.
Yeah, and I think there's still some homages to like old movie, like old, the so to speak, like twisting your mustache bad guys. What do they always have? They have the loyal henchman, and in the Sonic movies has that with Stone. And I love the operation of the Mean Bean Coffee Company. I just think that's so clever. It's just like as a former barista, and it's like it's just a front for just him literally waiting for Dr. Robotnik to come back.
Little latte artists of Dr. Robotnik. That was adorable.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know who decided they're gonna do, like, who was the first to do the whole making your latte art look really great. Was it the Batman with the Riddler doing the question mark, or was it Stone doing the Dr. Robotnik thing on the coffee?
I like how it has to be pop culture related.
Yeah. Yes. You see, this is how I love it. I was like, I'm surrounded constantly by people who like know Sonic and know the memes and the internet lore. And it's like, I wonder what it would be like to talk to people who are a little bit more removed from that and get the perspective on that. So now I'm all encompassed. I know all the different facets of it with you two being on here.
I'm glad
so thank you. Yeah. Anyway, now we can go back to just talking about Vinegar Syndrome with Doug the whole time. So
I spend way too every single time there's a sale. I'm like, I'm not spending money. Those sales aren't as good. I got drunk and spent a whole shit of money. So I'm getting I got some vinegar love. Just like, how much did I spend?
That's a problem when stuff shows up that you don't remember ordering. That's the worst and best feeling at the same time.
It is. It's like I saw some family. There was a lot of drinking, and then I saw some emails and went, "What did I do?"
No, I've done that where things show up and I'm like, when did this happen? And then immediately I'm like, oh, well, this is going to show up on my credit card bill. I don't appreciate this. Hiding packages from my wife all the time. I'm like, I don't know where that came from. I guess somebody sent it to me as prep for a podcast. I didn't spend money on this.
No,
Honey, how do
Honey,
how do I explain to you that I ordered Sonic 1 and 2 on Blu-ray? I'm sorry. Kids must have bought it. Sure.
Yeah. No idea how this got into my house. No idea. Sorry, babe. I don't know what this is. And he's just staring at me going,
right. Well, hey guys, this is all I wanted on this episode. It's like we're talking about Sonic 2. Like, I like the movie, but I know what Sonic 2 is, in hindsight. But I just wanted to have a good time just talking about other things related to anything culture relevant to Sonic 2. So I think we accomplished that, and I really want to thank you two for being on. Real quick, like Doug, what's going to be happening on Good Times Great Movies? I think you made an offer, and I said since you didn't like Sonic 2, I can't be on there anymore. But anyway,
I don't know what you're talking about. I think I said I'll send you our schedule, and I never did. So that's on me.
Because he watched Lindsay. It's because he watched Sonic 2, and then he's like, put the list back.
I was like, was I supposed to send him? No, I don't think so. Yeah. No, I listen. Whatever. Good Times, Great Movies. We talk about 80s movies. Who cares? I have to tell you, Chris. This is one of the most fun shows I go on. I will come on here anytime. I don't care if I like the movie. I don't care if I have to watch it 2 hours before we start podcasting. I do honestly enjoy talking to you. I enjoy your show. It's super fun. So it is always a pleasure to come on. Don't ever feel like you're trying to make me do something I'm not all that interested in.
No, that's good to know. No, Doug, I'm glad you got to be back on it this first month back. So you get my feet wet and get my nerves back on there.
Let's not take so much time off. If you could do me that favor and continue to make podcasts. I really thought you had totally, and I'm talking like a teenager now, I thought you had totally pod faded. Like, I thought that was it, and it was over. And then suddenly you come back with this like year-end wrap or whatever, and I was so excited. I was like, wait, what just happened here? You're back. I am thrilled. Please keep doing this, please.
I appreciate that, Doug. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it's like, here's my year-end wrap up. 6 months later, it's May. But thank you, Doug, and we'll have you back on again, man. Maybe
Sure.
I'll let you choose it this time again. And then
All
we'll
right.
we'll push the recording date a little later too for you. Because I think we always record at like 9 p.m. and I'm already 3 drinks in by the time we record.
We can do this whenever. We're only an hour apart. It's not like Lindsay's here listening to us talk about how closely we live to each other.
Then Lindsay's like, "You're drinking alcohol?" I'm literally drinking
Right.
coffee.
I'm so jealous because I'm drinking coffee and you guys are drinking alcohol. I'm like going, it's still too early.
She did
No,
not say what's in that coffee.
Yeah.
This is true.
We can use
That's
our
true.
imaginations.
Yeah, we said 9. We actually meant 9 a.m. We're
Mhm.
horribly drinking. It's too early in the morning after Sonic 2. But Lindsay, I'm happy to get you back on again because like, you've been busy and you've been doing some great stuff. In particular, one I wanted to shout out was the Suicide Squad episode you had with Preston. I
Yes.
was a big fan of. The movie, fine, it's funny. We talked about Idris Elba. He also really does it for me in that movie, but it was like that movie was like, okay, I miss podcasting with Lindsay and I need to have Preston on the podcast. And I got to do both of those things this month. So I want to thank you for that. And I'd love to know.
Yeah, yes. I just want to echo Doug saying, please don't make your hiatuses as long because yes, your podcast was missed.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where it's just like, life just got real busy. So, but Lindsay, what's going on your podcast? What I mean, every episode's a must listen, but I mean, what's something to look forward to coming up?
No, there's a few things. It's a bit all over the place at the moment because I was recording. I've got things banked up, but there is a episode that would have probably already come out of Time Cop with Time Crimes, which I love Time Crimes and then Time Cop. Speaking of John Claude, there's some Ingmar Bergman coming up, which I'm very excited about. And also some Michael Mann with Collateral. So, and also Preston is coming back this month as well. We're going to be talking 1936 comedy. So,
it's weird. Is he like a classic film guy or something? I can't tell.
He yes, very much.
Like, I think he actually.
He's almost like he's apart from some action, he's almost like the Texas version of Daniel in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's weird, Lindsay. Like you were talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles podcast. You brought up Michael Bay, and I was saying something to Daniel the other day. We're talking about Daniel too, who's basically co-sponsors this podcast. But I was like, I can't get one episode without talking about Michael Bay, and I was like, oh, maybe this will be different because it's like you should talk about Turtles too. And then Lindsay comes on and she drops a Michael Bay reference, and I think Matt Bledsoe's like, just keep the Bay coming. Or no, that's Mark Water.
Coming.
That's Mark Water. That's his toxic trait. He's a Bayer.
Yes, he is a Bayer.
Wow.
Nicest person in the world, but loves a conservative filmmaker. I love Mark for that. But he will, if you say there's a Bay or a Clint Eastwood movie happening, he will be there in a second. He loves a grumpy old conservative.
That's cool, baby.
And that is not him. It's cool, baby. Oh boy. Stop making me trying to like friggin' Jurassic World. Speaking of, it's the nicest guy in the world, but loves a grumpy old conservative.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
and Lindsay, I do have to very quickly.
Yeah.
At the last Kino sale, I picked up Malice, so I'm ready now.
Yes, we have
the Malice Diabolique. We can. I like how you're opening like a planner, like we're going to figure this out right now. I don't think we're doing this on this podcast, but I gotta tell you, I'm ready.
Everybody's just listening for the leaks at other podcasts.
Yes. Yes, we do have to do that because I need to quote that I am God's speech. So yes, we will be doing.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes. I love Malice so much. So yes, I'll message you and we will make a date for that.
Okay.
That's got to happen. Yeah.
All right.
Perfect. Well, it sounds like I'm just matchmaking in podcasts per usual. I'm the Gateway podcast. Nothing's changed after 6 months. But no, we just wrapped up June with this episode, and I'm so happy to have you two do it with me. It was fun just to kind of take back and kick back and just talk about, a few actors we like from a very old video game franchise. But hey, I want to thank you too for coming back on. And I recommend to everyone to check out Good Times, Great Movies with Doug. And I definitely recommend Schlock and All as well with Lindsay. If you like this podcast, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. We're at Sequel Pod. Follow me at Hertastic_Chris. Both Good Times, Great Movies. Same thing. I think is it GTGM is the Twitter handle?
Yeah. Some places it's GTGM. Some places it's GTGM Cast. Other places it's the entire name. I did a really bad job. SEO is not my thing.
Mm-hmm. But you can check them out anywhere you can listen to your podcast, I believe. And then Lindsay, you can follow Schlock and All where again?
Schlock and All 1, I think, is generally the tagline I used. So yeah, I went back and changed it because I had it all different. I'm like, I'm not listing these every single time. It's just I'm going back and changing it.
Right. And I recommend checking them out. Listen to them. Again, they're on anywhere you can listen to podcasts. Same as this podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Please email the show if you ever want to as well. At sequelpod@gmail.com as well. I like listening to those little emails that people are like, oh, I think you'd like this thing. And then I just never respond. I like doing that. So please email me. Other than that, if you aren't flossing and watching Sonic 2, do you really care about cinema? Anyway, we'll see you next time.